I used to think disasters arrived with warning signs, alarms, intuition, some kind of cosmic shiver. But the night that shattered my spine began like any other rainy Tuesday, soft and ordinary, with my younger sister, Saren, insisting she should drive because I'd worked a 12-hour shift and looked exhausted. That was normal for her, always hovering, always protective, always claiming she knew what was best for me. I didn't argue. I was too tired. My head felt heavy, my shoulders ached, and the rain drew streaks down the windshield like the night itself was trying to blur everything ahead of me. Saren tapped the wheel lightly, humming like she always did when she wanted to seem relaxed. She wasn't a reckless driver, if anything, she was overly careful. But that night, looking back, something felt off. A strange stillness. A concentration too sharp. At the time I brushed it off as tiredness. Now I know better. The other driver didn't have a chance. He ran a stop sign, apparently. A sudden blur of headlights, a horn I barely registered, and then a violent sideways punch into my door. I remember the metal screaming, glass exploding inward, and my own voice swallowed by the sound of twisting steel. But the detail that haunts me most is this. Saren didn't swerve away. She jerked the wheel toward the incoming car. I didn't understand that then. I only felt her movement and assumed it was panic, instinct, a desperate attempt to regain control in the rain. My mind didn't question it, not until much, much later. When everything went black, it wasn't dramatic. It wasn't cinematic. It was quiet, sudden, a void swallowing the impact. I woke up in the hospital unable to move anything from the chest down. Doctors used phrases like compromised spinal cord, and 6 injury, and complete paralysis. If they said more, I didn't hear it. My entire world shrank to a sterile white ceiling and the weight of a truth I couldn't yet accept. Saren survived with bruises and whiplash. She sobbed the first time she saw me awake, ugly, loud sobs that shook her whole body. She kept saying, "I'm so sorry, Alara. I'm so sorry," over and over as if the words could glue my spine back together. The police said it was an accident, bad timing, wet asphalt, no charges. Everyone told me I was lucky to be alive. They didn't know the truth, that luck had nothing to do with it. But the first crack in the illusion came soon after, when Saren moved into my apartment and never left. When Saren moved into the apartment Damien and I shared, it wasn't presented as a choice. It was a quiet announcement wrapped in guilt. "You can't be alone, Alara. Not like this, I'm staying." Damien agreed immediately. His job kept him traveling, and he didn't try to hide that he was relieved someone else could take over the constant vigilance my new condition demanded. In the first few weeks, I didn't see anything wrong with that. I was drowning in grief and shock. Needing help felt humiliating enough without judging how it came. Saren slept on the couch, by her own insistence. She refused the guest room because she said she didn't deserve comfort after the accident. I thought it was guilt. I thought she loved me. I thought a lot of stupid things. She set alarms for my medication, charted my physical therapy schedules, learned how to manage my catheter, and memorized my prescriptions. She did it all perfectly, almost obsessively. Anyone would have praised her as the model caretaker. And everyone did. My parents, Damien, nurses, therapists, friends. They adored her for what they believed was sacrifice. Meanwhile, I drowned in gratitude I didn't realize was misplaced. Damien and Saren developed a surprising rhythm. When he was home, he handled nights and Serene handled mornings. They traded updates about my progress in soft voices I overheard from the hallway. He would rub his temples while she whispered reassurances. She was always there with him, listening, soothing, offering emotional support like she had an endless supply. At first, I didn't see it. Trauma narrows your vision until all you notice is your own pain. But I started seeing tiny fractures. The way she quietly maneuvered into every space between Damien and me, taking calls when he missed them, stepping in for errands he forgot, keeping track of every detail about me so he didn't have to. When he forgot my birthday, she baked the cake he used to make. When he missed our anniversary dinner, she watched our favorite movie with me. When he began traveling more often for money, she stayed up late waiting for his calls, updating him like they were jointly parenting me. She wasn't filling gaps, she was sliding into them, perfectly, effortlessly, like she had rehearsed the role in her mind long before stepping into my home. I blamed myself, I blamed the accident, I blamed bad luck. Not once did I consider Saren's intentions. Not until one quiet afternoon, when I caught her looking at Damien in a way no sister should look at her sibling's fiancé. It was a Tuesday afternoon. Damien was home between work trips, standing in the kitchen flipping through his emails. I was rolling past in my chair, heading toward the living room, when I saw Saren leaning against the counter, watching him. Not just watching. Studying him. Her expression wasn't sisterly affection. It wasn't casual concern. It was something sharp, hungry, quietly claiming. The second she noticed me looking, she straightened, forcing her face into that soft, guilty mask she wore around me. "Do you need water, Alara?" she asked, voice trembling like she'd been caught doing something shameful. I brushed it off. I didn't want to think anything sinister. My mind was already a war zone, paralysis, pain, loss, the grief of losing every piece of my old life. Accusing my sister of what exactly? Flirting? Admiring? It felt irrational. It felt cruel. So I dismissed the thought and forced myself to believe I imagined it. But I didn't. I saw it again weeks later. Damien was showing us photos from a client trip, and Saren was sitting closer to him than she needed to be. Whenever he laughed, she watched his face instead of the picture. Whenever he explained something, her attention clung to him like gravity. I tried to rationalize it away. She felt guilty. He was the only other adult in the apartment. They were connected because of me, not each other. That's what I told myself. But subtle changes kept piling up. Damien started traveling more, sometimes twice as much as before. Saren filled in the emotional space he left behind. When I cried from frustration after failing a physical therapy exercise, she wrapped her arms around me and whispered, "He should be here. You deserve better." When Damien missed dinner for the third time in a week, she sighed and said softly, "You always give too much, Alara." He doesn't see it. She wasn't comforting me. She was framing him. And just like that, tiny fractures became patterns. One morning while Saren was brushing my hair, her phone lit up on the counter with a message from Damien. "Won't make it home tonight. Can you update me later?" He didn't text me. He texted her. About me. Saren snatched the phone so quickly she dropped the brush on the floor. "It's not what you think," she blurted, refusing to meet my eyes. And I wanted to demand answers. I wanted to confront her. But I was weak physically, emotionally, mentally. I depended on her completely, and that dependence gagged me more effectively than any threat could have. I told myself I was paranoid, traumatized, overthinking. But the truth was already growing. I just wasn't ready to face it. The next moment that shattered my denial came barely a month later, when Damien told me he couldn't do this anymore. I should have noticed the distance growing long before it snapped. The missed calls, the late-night messages he sent Saren instead of me, the way he stopped asking how my therapy went and started asking Saren instead. But when you're drowning, you cling to any hand reaching toward you, even if that hand is already letting go. Damien came home early that day. Not the good kind of early, the heavy kind. The kind where the apartment door closes too softly, like he's apologizing before he says anything. He sat across from me on the couch, elbows on his knees, staring at the floor as if it could tell him what words to use. Saren wasn't home. I didn't know that was intentional. "Alara," he began, voice thick, "we need to talk." My stomach dropped. Those 4 words have never led anywhere good in the history of human relationships. He wouldn't meet my eyes. "I don't know how to say this without sounding heartless," he continued, "but I'm not the man you need anymore. I can't be what your life requires now." I felt the words more than heard them. They landed like weights on my chest, squeezing the air out of me. "What are you saying?" I asked, though I already knew. He exhaled shakily. "I love you, but not like this, not in this reality. This reality." As if my paralysis was a lifestyle choice I'd sprung on him for fun. He kept talking, something about guilt, something about feeling helpless, something about not recognizing himself. It all blurred together like static in my ears. My brain focused on one thing: he was leaving. He said he'd keep paying half the rent for a few months until I adjusted. That was supposed to make him noble, generous, kind. Saren came home 30 minutes after he left. She found me crying. She didn't seem surprised. She rushed to me, wrapping her arms around my shoulders, rocking me gently like a child. "He's weak, Alara," she whispered into my hair. "Men like him break under pressure. You deserve someone loyal, someone who would never abandon you." Her voice trembled with sincerity. I believed her. She cooked dinner that night. Damien's favorite recipe, the one he always made for us on celebrations. She said she wanted me to have something familiar, something comforting. I didn't question why she knew the recipe perfectly from memory. For weeks after Damien moved out, Saren became everything. My caretaker, my emotional support, my shield from the world. Looking back, she wasn't filling his space. She was taking it, claiming it, and I didn't realize just how far she would go until the day I saw them together. A year after the accident, I finally felt strong enough to leave the apartment more often. Not emotionally strong, physically. Emotionally, I was still a scraped-open wound pretending to be stitched together. But I had appointments, errands, therapy sessions. Life kept happening whether I wanted it to or not. That afternoon, my medical transport van stopped outside a cafe so the driver could grab coffee before my appointment. I didn't mind. I was half asleep, watching people through the rain-streaked window, letting the world blur into faceless shapes. Then two shapes sharpened. Damien and Saren sitting together at a corner table. I froze. They weren't talking like two people occasionally in contact. They weren't sitting like people who shared grief or guilt or awkward history. They were leaning toward each other, laughing, sharing a phone screen. Her fingers brushed his hand and he didn't pull away. He smiled at her. A smile I hadn't seen in months. A smile I used to think belonged to me. My lungs locked up, and for a moment I thought I might suffocate right there in the back of that van. I couldn't move. I couldn't look away. I couldn't breathe. Saren looked radiant, fresh hair, new jacket, makeup done subtly but carefully. She looked like a woman on a date. Damien looked comfortable, relaxed, like nothing in the world was wrong. Like he wasn't sitting across from the sister of the woman he left on a couch crying. I couldn't process it. I didn't process it. My brain refused the image like a corrupted file. When I finally confronted Saren that night, she broke instantly, shaking hands, tearful breaths, panicked explanations. She said they met accidentally, said they'd been comforting each other, said trauma bonded them and things got complicated. She insisted she didn't mean for anything to happen. She insisted they tried to stop it. She insisted they felt awful. Every word sounded like a lie patched with another lie. But I was so shattered, emotionally dependent, exhausted, lonely. That part of me still wanted to believe her. Or maybe I just wasn't ready to understand the truth. Because the truth was this. Saren wasn't sorry she crossed the line. She was sorry I caught her. And the next week, she moved out to give me space. A day later, Damien helped her carry boxes into her new apartment. 2 weeks after that, they went public. Posts about unexpected love. Posts about healing through shared pain. Posts about second chances. Second chances that required my life to be destroyed first. But nothing, absolutely nothing, could have prepared me for what I found next. Because fate wasn't done hitting me, not until I discovered Saren's journal hidden in my closet. I wasn't looking for answers that day. I wasn't looking for anything at all. I was just cleaning my closet because the silence in my apartment felt too heavy, and reorganizing things was easier than thinking about Saren and Damien smiling together like my existence had never mattered. A small notebook slipped out of an old box, a pale blue journal with a bent corner and Saren's handwriting on the cover. Private, do not touch. Something in my gut twisted. I shouldn't have opened it, but I did. The first few pages were harmless. Scribbles about work, frustrations, random thoughts. Then a loose photo fell out and fluttered into my lap. A photo of Damien and me at one of his company events. There were tiny red hearts drawn around Damien's face. Underneath, in Saren's handwriting, one word, soon. My chest tightened. I turned the page. Another entry, her venting about working long shifts, hating her job, and how unfair it was that I had everything while she had nothing. She listed it out, my job, my relationship, my apartment, as if she were reading a theft report. I kept reading even though every sentence felt like a knife. Entry after entry about Damien. How perfect he was. How he deserved someone who truly sees him. How I took him for granted. Then came the page that made my blood run cold. Dated the day before the accident. Her handwriting neat, calm, terrifying. Tomorrow changes everything. I'll be driving. The stop sign is barely visible in the rain. If I time it right, I'll be fine. She won't. Damien will need someone. I'll be there. I'll be perfect. My hands shook so violently the journal almost slipped from my lap. She planned it. She timed it. She rehearsed it. My accident wasn't bad luck. It wasn't weather. It wasn't fate. It was Saren. My own sister. The air left my lungs in sharp, panicked bursts. My vision blurred. My chest tightened like a vice clamped it shut. I wasn't having an emotional reaction, I was having a full-blown panic attack. I couldn't breathe. But even through the terror, I forced myself to do the only thing that mattered. I grabbed my phone and began taking photos. Every page, every entry, every obsession, every plan. My hands trembled, but I kept going. When I finished, the truth sat heavy in my lap. My sister engineered the accident that paralyzed me. She broke my body to steal my life, and I had proof. But proof is useless if you show it to the wrong person. Which is why the only name that came to my mind was someone who wasn't part of my family at all. My physical therapist, Lion. My hands were still trembling when I scrolled through my contacts. I should have called the police, or my parents, or someone official. That's what any sane person would do after discovering evidence of a planned attack. But sanity wasn't what guided me. Instinct was. And my instinct said one thing clearly: no one connected to Saren can be trusted. My parents adored her. Damien was with her. My extended family treated her like some saint who sacrificed her life for mine. If I told them she orchestrated the crash, they would have called me delusional, traumatized, unstable. They already thought I was fragile, broken, half lost in grief. So instead, I tapped on the only person who had no emotional tie to this disaster. Lion, my physical therapist. She'd known me for months. She'd seen me at my worst, crying through exercises, fighting depression, collapsing into panic attacks. But she'd also seen me fight, adapt, claw my way through recovery. She never pitied me, never coddled me, never treated me like a fragile object. If anyone could handle this, it was her. I pressed call. It rang 3 times. "Hey, Alara." Her voice was warm, curious. "Everything okay?" No, nothing was okay. Nothing had been okay in 18 months, but I managed to force out the words. I need help. It's urgent. Please don't ask questions." "Can you come?" Her tone shifted instantly, sharp, firm, focused. "I'm on my way, 30 minutes. I hung up and stared at the journal, its pages spread open on my lap like an autopsy of my old life. My breath came in short, uneven pulls. Every tick of the clock felt like another drop of truth sinking deeper into my bones. 30 minutes later, there was a knock. Lion stepped inside, took one look at my face, and closed the door gently behind her. She crouched beside my wheelchair, eyes scanning mine with quiet concern. "Tell me." I didn't speak. I simply handed her the journal, open to the page that destroyed everything I believed about my sister. I watched the moment she understood. Her eyebrows pulled together, then lifted, then froze. Her lips parted in shock, no dramatic gasp, just a deep, horrified stillness. She read the page again, and again, and again. Her face drained of color. Finally she whispered, "Alara, this isn't guilt, this is planning." The words sliced through the room. She spent the next hour helping me devise a plan, taking cloud backups, making physical copies, hiding them in places Saren would never think of, setting passwords my sister could never guess. By the time we were done, she wasn't just my therapist. She was the first ally I'd had in a year. Then she looked me dead in the eyes and said, "You can't stay here tonight." I didn't argue when Lion told me I couldn't stay another night in that apartment. I wanted to, some part of me wanted to pretend I was overreacting, that this was just a nightmare I'd wake from. But the journal sitting on the table said otherwise. This apartment, Saren chose it. Saren arranged it. Saren decorated it. Saren made every modification, every safety rail, every shelf height adjustment. Every part of it was touched by her hands, the same hands that wrote about crippling me for the man she wanted. I felt sick. Lion packed a small bag of essentials for me: medications, catheter supplies, clothes, chargers. I kept looking around the apartment like it was suddenly hostile territory, a place that had been weaponized without my knowledge. "This was never a safe space," I whispered. Lion didn't deny it. She helped me transfer into her car and drove us to her apartment, a ground-floor unit with an accessible layout she'd modified years ago for a relative. It smelled like lavender and warm laundry. It felt safe, a feeling I hadn't recognized in months. She set me up in the spare room, dim lights, soft blankets, everything calm and still. I hadn't realized how tense I'd been until my body softened into the mattress. While I settled, she stepped into the hallway and made a call. I heard only her side. "Mom, I need you." No, nothing's wrong with me. My client discovered something serious. Yes, more serious than that. Attempted harm, planned. Can you come tomorrow morning? Her mom was a retired prosecutor. For the first time since reading that journal, I felt the faintest flicker of hope, sharp, fragile, and terrifying. When she hung up, Lion sat on the bed beside me. We'll figure this out, but you need to rest, okay? I didn't want to sleep, but exhaustion is a brutal thief. I drifted off with the journal's words echoing in my head. If I time it right, she won't be fine. I woke to morning light and the soft rumble of voices in the kitchen. Lion wheeled me out, and that's when I saw her, a sharp-eyed woman in her 60s scribbling notes on a legal pad. Virginia, she said, extending her hand. I'm here to help you. She didn't waste time. No small talk, no pity. Start from the beginning, she said. And for the first time, I told the entire truth out loud. The accident, the year of manipulation, the journal, the obsession, the betrayal. Virginia listened, stone-faced, professional, absorbing every detail. When I finished, she closed her notebook and said the words that changed everything. We can build a case, but you must act normal around Saren until we're ready. My stomach dropped, because right then, as if on cue, my phone buzzed with a message from my sister. Love you. How are you feeling today? Red Virginia leaned forward as the text from Saren lit up my screen. Answer it, she said calmly. She can't know anything is wrong. My fingers hovered above the keyboard, stiff with disgust. Pretending everything was fine felt like swallowing broken glass. But Virginia was right. If Saren felt even a whisper of suspicion, she could destroy the journal, disappear, spin a story before we had evidence lined up. So I typed the most sickening lie of my life. I'm okay, just tired. A heart emoji came back instantly. I nearly threw the phone. Virginia nodded with approval. Good, keep doing that. Keep her comfortable, predictable, unalarmed. The next week became a nightmare of forced normalcy. Every morning Saren texted, Did you sleep? Need anything? Every evening, miss you. I've been thinking about you. She wrote it like a loving sister. But now I knew better. It was surveillance, maintenance, control. Meanwhile, Virginia moved fast. She contacted a forensic document examiner, set appointments with a detective who handled cold cases, organized every photo of the journal we took, logged dates, timestamps, patterns in Saren's entries, built a timeline of her obsession with Damien. By the time we met Albert, the handwriting expert, I was holding myself together with thin threads. Albert photographed every page of the journal with professional equipment. He spoke gently but clinically, explaining paper aging, ink oxidation, handwriting markers. His calmness was frighteningly reassuring. When he compared Saren's notes from old birthday cards to the journal, his conclusion was simple. Same writer, no doubt. My hands grew cold. While he worked, Lion went to my apartment to collect more handwriting samples. She returned with a box of handwritten notes Saren had left me over the years, the same handwriting that wrote, Tomorrow changes everything. Albert took the box, nodding solemnly. I'll call you when I'm done. The next few days were silent torture. Saren kept texting. My parents kept asking why I wasn't coming home more now that she'd moved out. Damien stayed quiet, which should have comforted me, but didn't. Then Virginia arranged a meeting with Detective Pope, a man with a face carved from patience and caution. He read the journal slowly, expressions stiffening the further he went. When he finished, he closed the folder and said, This is not an accident case anymore. This is premeditated harm. My stomach churned. He continued, But Amber, he stopped, corrected himself. Saren will deny everything. So until we verify the journal, you must maintain normal communication. My jaw clenched. My fingers shook, but I nodded. Because the worst part wasn't pretending for Saren, it was what Pope said next. Your family will likely side with her. Prepare yourself. I didn't believe him, but I should have. Detective Pope wasn't exaggerating. He wasn't being dramatic. He was warning me, gently, tactfully, that the people I trusted most would rather cling to a comfortable lie than face a horrifying truth. But I still believed my parents would listen. I still believed family meant something. I was wrong. Albert finished the authentication a week later. He confirmed everything. The ink matched the dates. The paper aging was consistent. The handwriting was undeniably Saren's. There were no signs of backdating or forgery. He handed the report to Virginia with the calmness of someone delivering lab results, but to me, it felt like a death certificate. It was official. My sister planned the crash that paralyzed me. The moment we left the examiner's office, Pope scheduled my formal statement at the station. Lion drove me, sitting silently beside me like a bodyguard made of empathy and iron. I spent 3 brutal hours recounting everything. The accident, the caregiving, the manipulation, the journal, the discovery, and the timeline of Saren's growing obsession with Damien. By the end of it, I felt hollowed out, stripped, exhausted down to my bones. Then Pope said quietly, "The DA will review everything. You'll hear back within 2 weeks." I nodded numb, but the explosion came much sooner. The day my parents chose her the next morning at 9:30, my phone started ringing. "Mom," I answered. Her voice wasn't confused or worried. It was furious, shaking, shrill, animal-like. "How dare you?" she screamed. "What lies are you telling about your sister? What kind of sick fantasy are you inventing to destroy her life?" I tried to explain. "Mom, she planned the accident. I found her journal." "I have." She cut me off with a wail so loud I had to pull the phone away from my ear. "Saren would never hurt you. She took care of you for a year. She saved your life?" "Saved, not destroyed. Saved." The delusion burned. I tried again. "Mom, please listen." "No, you listen. If you keep spreading these accusations, you're not my daughter anymore." She hung up. 20 minutes later, Dad called. His voice was quieter but colder. "You're letting grief twist your mind. That journal was fiction, Alara. Creative writing. You're turning it into some conspiracy because your bitter Damien moved on." I felt physically sick. He ended the call with a final blow. "If you pursue this, we're done. For good." And just like that, I lost my entire family in one morning. But the truth didn't care about their denial. Because the DA called 2 days later with an answer that would ignite everything. They were filing charges against Saren. The DA moved faster than I expected. 2 days after my parents disowned me over the phone, Detective Pope called with a tone that was calm but heavy. "Alara," he said, "the district attorney is filing charges. Second-degree assault, pending further evidence. Saren will be arrested within 48 hours. It felt unreal, like someone else's life, someone else's tragedy. But the numbness didn't last. Because the world doesn't quietly adjust to truth. It erupts. The aftershock hits. The arrest happened early morning. I didn't watch it, but I heard about it soon enough from the avalanche of calls, messages, and threats that flooded my phone within hours. My mother called first, screaming so violently the words blurred together. "You did this, you destroyed her, SHE loved you, how could you?" I hung up. She called again, and again, and again. I blocked her. Dad came next. His voice wasn't loud, it was deadly quiet. "You're sick. You need psychiatric help. You turned grief into hatred and now you're sending your sister to jail. If she hurts herself, her blood is on your hands." His words sliced deeper than any blade. Extended family members messaged too. "How could you betray your sister? You're making up things for attention. Everyone knows Saren cared more than Damien ever did. You're jealous, that's all this is." None of them had seen the journal. None of them asked to. They preferred a lie that painted me as unstable rather than accept the truth that Saren was capable of violence. Then came Damien's message. A paragraph so self-righteous and venomous it almost made me laugh. He called me cruel, accused me of punishing Saren for finding love, claimed the journal was obviously fiction and that I was delusional from trauma, said he hoped I got help. Then he blocked me. The irony burned. He supported the woman who ruined my body and my life more fiercely than he ever supported me. Saren strikes back. Once she posted bail, the circus began. Saren went live on social media, crying, shaking, looking heartbreakingly fragile, a performance she'd perfected. She told the world I was twisting her creative writing assignments into crimes, that I was emotionally unstable since the accident, that I was jealous of her happiness with Damien. She posted old photos of us together, hugging, smiling, with captions like, "I still love you, Alara. I hope you find peace someday." Comments poured in. "Stay strong," Saren read. "Your sister needs therapy, not revenge. This is so sad. You were always the good one. Alara is mentally struggling. Don't blame her." Watching strangers defend her while calling me broken, bitter, unhinged, it was a new kind of pain. A public erasure of everything I survived. But the truth doesn't need popularity. It needs evidence. And Virginia and Pope were gathering more evidence that would blow Saren's fiction defense apart. The next piece arrived in a single, quiet phone call. "Ilara, we found a life insurance policy Saren took out on you 2 weeks before the accident." My blood ran cold. The call about the life insurance policy hit harder than any emotional betrayal. Because obsession can be dismissed, jealousy can be excused, manipulation can be twisted into misunderstood love. But money. A $500,000 policy taken out 2 weeks before the crash? That was motive no jury could ignore. I stared at the document Pope emailed, Saren listed as the sole beneficiary, the massive payout amount, the signature that matched her handwriting perfectly. Virginia arrived at Lyon's apartment within an hour, legal pad in hand, eyes sharp with a predator's focus. "This changes the charges," she said flatly. "This isn't just assault anymore, with motive, timing, and planning. We're talking attempted murder." My stomach lurched. I wasn't prepared to hear those words out loud, even though I already knew them in my bones. Virginia contacted the DA immediately. The new evidence was too strong to ignore. Within 3 days, they formally upgraded the charges to attempted murder in the first degree. Saren's lawyer fought it tooth and nail, arguing the policy was just sisterly concern for my long work hours. But the judge wasn't buying it, not when Virginia laid the timeline out cleanly. Saren takes out a $500,000 policy. Saren documents in her journal her plan to crash the car. Saren drives that night. Saren swerves into traffic, not away. I'm paralyzed at 6, exactly the injury type she researched online. 2 weeks later, she begins positioning herself as Damien's emotional support. The judge denied the defense motion instantly, and then Pope delivered another blow. His tech team pulled Saren's old browser history. What they found stripped away the last thread of doubt. Searches about the exact intersection we crashed at. Satellite angles showing how poor the stop sign visibility was when raining. Weather forecasts for the week of the accident. Traffic camera blind spots. Medical articles about spinal cord injuries, specifically thoracic injuries. Recovery timelines for 6 paralysis. Estimated cost of living increases for disabled individuals. Steps for becoming a legal caregiver under insurance plans. She didn't just plan the accident, she planned the aftermath. She planned her role, she planned her alibi, she planned my life after she took it away. I felt cold all over, the kind of cold that sinks into your marrow. But the next piece of evidence was one I never expected. Damien reached out to Detective Pope. For the first time since he left me, he wanted to talk. Pope called me after the interview. "Ilara," he said quietly. "It turns out Damien found old text messages from Saren, messages he never saw. Messages that make it clear she was targeting him long before the accident." My heart pounded. Because finally, after months of lies, someone who betrayed me was ready to admit what really happened. Damien's statement was the first time the universe tilted back in my direction. According to Pope, the messages Saren sent him, to an old number he barely used, were explicit. Months before the accident, she texted him things like, "You deserve someone who really pays attention to you. Ilara doesn't value you the way you deserve. You'd be happier with someone who understands you better." He never saw those messages back then. But seeing them now cracked the fantasy he'd built around Saren, the fantasy she crafted for him with strategic vulnerability and perfectly timed compassion. He told Pope he felt manipulated, groomed, even. He admitted Saren encouraged him to take more trips, subtly pushing him away from me. He admitted she painted herself as the only person who truly understood him. Pope said Damien cried during the statement. Good. Let him feel the edges of the destruction he helped sharpen. The trial 6 months later, we walked into court. Saren looked small and fragile, dressed in a soft blue dress that made the jury lean toward sympathy. Her hair tied back, eyes red, hands trembling. Of course she cried. She'd perfected it. But this time tears wouldn't save her. Virginia presented everything with merciless clarity. The authenticated journal, the insurance policy, the internet searches, the accident reconstruction, the witness testimonies, the text messages. Saren hid the timeline of her obsession. With Damien, each piece landed like a hammer. When I took the stand, Saren stared at me with swollen eyes, pleading, trembling, trying to remind me of the sister she pretended to be. But I looked at the jury instead. I told them about the night of the crash, the months of caregiving, the emotional manipulation, The discovery of the journal, the panic, the betrayal, the truth. Saren's lawyer tried to paint me as unstable, a traumatized woman spinning fiction into reality. She held up the journal like it was a novel. But when Virginia forced Saren to explain every incriminating line, her excuses folded into incoherence. And then came the most damning moment. The judge asked Saren directly, "Why did you take out a $500,000 life insurance policy on your sister 2 weeks before the accident?" She froze. Not a tear, not a tremble, just a single flicker of pure exposed calculation. And every juror saw it. The verdict 3 days later, the jury came back, guilty on all counts, attempted murder. Saren collapsed, wailing, shaking violently as deputies escorted her out. Her parents screamed in the hallway, cursing my name. I didn't flinch. I didn't cry. For the first time in 2 years, I felt the faint outline of justice. The sentencing 15 years in prison. No parole for at least 10. Her last look at me wasn't hatred. It was disbelief, as if she still expected me to protect her. Life after my parents disowned me formally. Damien apologized in a trembling voice at a cafe, but I told him forgiveness isn't the same as reunion. Virginia and Lion became the support system my blood family refused to be. The civil suit gave me financial security, not wealth, but dignity. I started consulting for disability advocacy groups. I moved to a new city, a new apartment, a new life. My legs may never work again, but my mind, my voice, my future, those are mine now. Saren stole my body. She tried to steal my life, but she didn't win. I did.